half of my audience is devastated. And he said, and he's like, it's such a weird thing. He's like, it just feels different. And then
Hmm.
he's like, we got Tom Brady on the show at noon. Um, but he's like, that'll bring us together. But I felt
No,
the
it
same
won't.
way.
Tom Brady.
I felt the same way this morning, though. And I
Hmm.
did in 2020, I remember too. In 2020, it was like, election week, I remember too. But and it was COVID on top of that too, so it was even weird. It was just such like a surrealist dystopian time. But you can go to a lot of different sources to get a commentary on the election and things like that. I'd rather provide a release. I think you, Dom, who is way more politically active than myself, I think you would like an opportunity for an hour to speak about movies and pop culture and things like that. So I hope that's what we can be for whoever you may be, however you may be watching us tonight. I hope that's what we can be for you because it's so easy, I think, to go down like a doom scrolling. However you feel, whether you feel happy, whether you feel sad, whether you feel indifferent. I think there's few people who feel indifferent, but however you feel, I think it's easy to kind of get sucked into the social media chamber of like just nihilism and everything like that, or just like mean spirited bragging, whatever it is. So I hope that we can provide a little bit of an outlet on a weird day like today, because we are talking about a very interesting movie, one that isn't entirely divorced from the election concept, but is something so also different in its own right that we don't get many movies like this, especially in the theater. So I'm excited to talk about Conclave, the brand new sort of, I guess, talky Catholic Church thriller mystery movie.
It's
That's
a
what we're
political
talking about
drama.
today.
People have asked me like, how would you describe this? Right? I say political drama.
I would go. I wouldn't dispute that. I would argue though. I would argue there's really an aura of mystery in this though too.
True.
There's a strong political mystery drama. I think it's got a thriller element to it. What does Wikipedia say?
It says mystery thriller.
I'd have drama in there. I'd
Yeah.
have drama in there before that. You know, I always, whenever I have like a giant, like Wikipedia always seems to pithily summarize it. I knew I was in for a good time when I looked up Parasite for the very first time, and they called it a tragicomedy. And I knew it, and I'm like, that's not one you see. That's not a genre you see very often. Name
Mm-mm.
drop. So I'm happy to say that. But we will talk Conclave today. That is our movie. Miss woke up this morning, thought we were going to talk about here, and I helped curate the damn schedule. And next week, Dom and Joe will be talking about here. I will be absent next week, but they will be here talking about here next week. At any rate, Dom, how are you doing today?
Yeah, I'm doing all right. It was got to see some friends yesterday, and we had gyro and burger, and we watched some election things. And the thing about doom scrolling is very. I brought my laptop, and yeah, Steve, for the first time that you were doing some kind of show during an election, it was technically with me, or at least I was there.
Yeah, you were.
The 2016 election, and that was at good old WONC in Naperville University, perhaps more known as North Central College in Naperville. But yeah, that was a heck of a night. You had a lovely newsroom with it was essentially just the classroom with everyone with their own laptops, just feeding me results while I tried to you know parse through that information live on the air. I'm very glad I kind of wish I had recorded it, but frankly, uh, I kind of glad I wasn't, because I don't think it was very good. But it was an experience, and it was a unique way to experience that moment in time. And yeah, it was. I think. Yeah, I think I went to bed at like 3 in the morning, which, to be fair, was par for the course during that period of my life, our lives, when we had night owls and late night sleepless with Steve. So yeah, a different time, and yet not too much.
I think every presidential election hereafter, I'll think about that. I thought
Hmm.
about it yesterday too. Like, because I think, it was a lot of things. I mean, me personally, it was the first election I could vote in. It was the first election that I remember experiencing with others
Hmm.
and like having a kind of kind of an agent, like, an involvement because I
Yeah,
voted. You know what I mean? And experiencing with other people that like weren't my parents. Because I'm trying to remember. I don't remember. I remember watching the coverage for Romney Obama. I remember
sure.
watching it, but I don't vividly like. I couldn't tell you which TV I watched it on in my house. I really couldn't.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I remember it. I obviously remember it happening and the build up to it, and but I don't remember a whole lot about it. And then it was that moment and stuff. And I remember I stood outside Studio A's door while you gave the address at like 2:30 in the morning, because then my shift, Sleepless with Steve shift at the time, which got preempted for election coverage. I learned that day there are things more important than movies. 12 to 3 a.m. My shift was almost over. So when the mic went off, I went in and you said like you got like one more break before 3 o'clock, and
Mm-hmm.
then it's the next person's shift. And I remember I still have it saved. I have not listened to it since I gave it, but I kind of gave like a 2 minute monologue about like how I usually do Sleepless with Steve. We have an election going on, and then talking about like I remember, if I remember correctly, I think I said something to the tune of I plan on doing tomorrow, technically today, what I hope everybody else does, which is get up, go to work, go to school, treat other people with kindness, go about your day, and keep your friends and family close, and hope for the best going forward for the sake of America. I think I said something to that
Mm-hmm.
tune, and I still kind of feel
You
that
did
way
it
the
for your
same,
country, Steve.
because it's like, I mean, it was kind of like one of those things, like, and I know it's like almost 3 in the morning on like a college station, but it's one of
Hmm.
those things like I remember getting in that chair and I'm like, this is weird. I have one break. It's so late. This just happened. One of the biggest election upset of my life happened. And like, there's so many emotions with so many people that were still at the station. There were so many different visceral reactions and everything. And it was like, how the hell do I do this? How the hell do I address these six people listening? It might as well have been the goddamn world for as far as
Hmm.
I'm concerned. I'd never done anything like that, and I still never did anything like that. Um, but I remember, I think I will always remember that every passing election now going forward, that will always be one of my most, stalwart memories of it all.
Yeah.
You know, we shall move forward, though. You are actually going to start the show technically too, because honestly, it was like you and Catherine who broke this news to me. Catherine first, and then I saw your message about Quincy Jones passing away just a couple of days ago. November 3rd was the date, age 91. I think news broke on Monday that he passed away. You are the resident jazz expert over here, and I know that Quincy Jones, on top of being a jazz musician, was also a huge record producer responsible for so many different careers. His impact on music, I think, is fair to call broad reaching. I want to give it to you, though, to talk about the late, great Quincy Jones.
Thank you. Yeah. So Quincy Jones is most likely going to be known, at least on the surface level, immediately as the producer that made Michael Jackson. And that makes perfect sense because he did freaking Thriller. So, which is effectively an album full of number ones and just a gargantuan cultural impact. I mean, I don't even need to say anything. It speaks for itself. It's freaking Michael Jackson. It's Thriller, right? But and millions of people are going to go into that. But in terms of his how
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Sleepless without Steve. We are Steveless tonight, but don't worry. We are here. We are live, and we are on YouTube every Wednesday from 6:30 Central to 7:30 Central. It's me, Joe Viso, along with Dominic Guanzon in the trademark blue polo, of course. Dom, how you doing?
I love when my commute, which is technically 20 minutes away, turns into 30 to 40 minutes because of traffic and then an hour because of rain. So it's like I did everything right. Nope. Doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter. Life's just
I don't
keeping
know.
you
I love
down
the
sometimes.
suburbs. Driving is so much fun. I love sitting in traffic.
Oh man. No, I used to feel that too. I mean before I got my most recent job, my commute was over an hour at times. With or without traffic, it was about an hour. With traffic, over an hour. And then there were some days where it was with traffic and rain and a bunch of other stuff, and that just caused it to be nearly 2 hours. And I said, enough is enough. I can't take this anymore. I need to find a new job.
Hmm.
So yeah. And with that new job came new responsibilities, like being a part of a committee and stuff like that now at work. And if you were wondering where I was the last 2 weeks, well, one Wednesday I had to go for a dentist appointment where they were checking out a tooth that was very sensitive, which we found out was due to the toothpaste I was using exposed it. Uh, if you ever use whitening toothpaste, be very careful. If you have sensitive teeth like I do, um, your teeth actually might expose either your root or your gums more from the whitening toothpaste. And it actually does more damage to your tooth than actually helping it. Of course, I bought it because in the morning I like to eat stuff or drink coffee. And, sometimes it leaves a stain on your teeth. Coffee does, or,
Oh my God.
stuff like that. So I want to get whitening toothpaste. And come to find out, because of how sensitive my teeth are, I can't do that anymore. So I have to just use any toothpaste that's just not that doesn't have whitening in it. So Sensodyne is
Jesus
a
Christ.
toothpaste, if anybody's wondering what you could use for that. So fun stuff you can learn on Sleepless with Steve about what toothpaste to use and everything. The other reason why I wasn't here was last week was a work committee that I am now a part of, where every first Wednesday of the year, every first Wednesday of the month, I should say, throughout a whole year, I will not be on Sleepless. It will be these two. There might be a special occasion depending on what happens with my work. Maybe a committee gets called off. If that is the case, maybe I'll jump on. But more than likely, because I'll be preparing to get that committee done in advance, maybe I'll skip out on seeing the movie that week and everything. Just to have more free time to get the other stuff done. But who knows? I digress. Dom, how you doing, though? Other than your commute, how's everything been?
No, man, just getting ready for Christmas at work because this is the Christmas tis one as soon as midnight happens in Halloween, uh, you know, Mariah Carey comes out of her cage. WLIT starts playing Christmas music. Delilah comes out of her cage, and she has a blog too. Have you seen the Delilah blog?
No.
It's very heartwarming stuff. It's all therapy. It's all like therapy without going to therapy kind of situations. I think I could write a very controversial thesis on how I think it's a little harmful sometimes, but I guess she just kind of brings that kind of comfort to millions of women. So I can't, you know what? It's a hard life out there. I can't complain.
All right. Yeah, no, I feel you. At work, the downtown area where I work at, already Christmas decorations are going up. We haven't even had Thanksgiving. We haven't even gotten close to Thanksgiving yet, honestly. It is creepy to think, not creepy, but it is crazy to think that Thanksgiving is already 2 weeks away. It's almost like
Yep.
last week just kind of didn't happen in my mind, and I wish it didn't. I won't go too far into
So what
that.
happened last week?
Nothing. Absolutely nothing, Dom.
Okay.
um. Anyways, enough stupid jokes that probably so many other people made on the internet. Other than that, I've been doing all right. Other than the two things I said about my Wednesdays kind of being preoccupied. Work has been good. Life has been good. Can't complain. Glad to be back on the show. Wish Steve was here because I was excited to be back with both you guys. It was a last minute news. It was last minute news to me that Steve will not be joining us for this review, and not to get too much into it. Sorry, I'm just adjusting my chair so I don't look so tiny on screen. Not. I wish Steve was here because not to kind of spoil my review, but him and I would have disagreed heavily on this film, and it
Yeah.
would have been actually a really fun discussion to have. But maybe it will show up on a list near the end of the year. I won't say what list yet because I don't want to give away how I felt about the movie. But before we get to that, unfortunately, some bad news. Tony Todd, the infamous actor who is known for playing Candyman, sadly passed away at age 69.
Was he controversial?
No, I don't think so. No.
Okay. That's the vibe I got when you said infamous. I'm like, oh shit, is there Tony Todd lore I
No,
didn't
no,
know
no,
about?
no, no, no. He's just infamous for playing the character of Candyman. He played
Oh
Candyman.
yes, the infamous Candyman. There
Yes, he played Candyman in every version of those movies, as far as I know. Even the reboot.
you go. Except the most recent one, right?
No, even the reboot. He makes a cameo at the end, technically.
That's right. When it's like the flashback. Oh, that's
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, where you actually see the final form that he takes, and it's Tony Todd, and I'm just like, that's actually a cool way to tie it all back together to the first film and everything. But yeah, man, for 4 decades, this man, his roles span so many genres. He went on to so many things. One of my favorite times I've ever read anything involving Tony Todd was back when Jason Voorhees and Freddy Krueger faced off in Freddy versus Jason, they were trying to also greenlight not Tony, Candyman versus Chucky. And Tony Todd looked at this idea right. And he just went, "This is stupid. I will not be partaking in anything like this." Because he looked at the Candyman as just like, kind of like another message when it comes to, violence in America towards, a black community and everything. And when you watch those movies, especially the first one and the most recent one that very much brings up those messages, you can kind of see why he probably holds that character so near, or also that whole myth in those films in general. Very good actor, very great actor. He recently, for all you young people out there, he played Venom in the recent Spider-Man game, Spider-Man 2. He is the voice of Venom. And for anybody who is excited for this game as much as I am, because it's hopefully going to be the Indiana Jones adventure I want to, he will be in the new Indiana Jones video game that comes out in December as one of the villains. I don't know.
Did you see that new gameplay trailer? That new
I did.
Like deep dive?
Man, look, of course us two, when Steve isn't here, we're going to talk about other geeky stuff. Man, can I just say real quick?
Forget Robert Zemeckis. Let's talk the new indie trailer.
I don't know if this is Tony Todd's last role in that new game. And let me just say this real quick, and we'll go back to Tony Todd. That game looks amazing, man. That game is giving me everything I want in an Indiana Jones game. Puzzle solving, big adventures, using the environment to your advantage, and either using it as weapons, sneaking around, climbing on top of stuff, getting advantages. I think it's amazing that the game's like, no, the only gun you could use is his revolver. That's it. You have to outsmart your opponents the whole time. It's like, that's an Indiana Jones thing, honestly. Like, you have your whip and everything. And man, it's going to feel so good to punch Nazis in the face in that game. I love it so much. Now, okay, to answer the question I was kind of asking myself, he has 11 projects lined up. Including the Indiana Jones and the Great Circle, which comes out later this year. He possibly will also be featured in the Final Destination Bloodlines, the next Final Destination movie. He might have a role in that. He might have filmed that in secrecy, so it could be an additional on top of that. But we will be seeing plenty of Tony Todd before we see the final, credit roll on him, and a thank you to everything with him. Amazing actor. Very much loved him in everything he was in. I always thought he was great. Dom, do you have anything you want to share about Tony Todd at all?
Just I've been seeing a lot of clips of Tony Todd show up on social media. It's like, wow, remember how great he was. And one of my favorite scenes. So I think it's between Pain and Gain and The Rock. You know what I'm talking about? The Michael Bay movie, The Rock. Rock is just a good movie. I hate Michael Bay as an artist. Love The Rock. Can't deny it. And the scenes with Tony Todd are like, this man is so freaking intense. He is just a big block of mean in that movie. And it's so beautiful. It's so beautiful to like see. I think, is that the scene? Or like, does he have the scene where Nicolas Cage goes like, "You're the Rocket Man," and then he launches him with the rocket?
I think so. It's been years since I've seen The Rock. Like, I've been wanting to do a deep dive on Michael Bay's career where I watch everything the man has directed. Which means I'll have to rewatch some of those Transformers movies, which I'm not looking forward to. But there's genuine stuff in there from, like you're saying, The Rock, Pain and Gain, and other things. So when I go back and rewatch that movie, I will try to, remember if you ask that question and try to answer it many months later.
Yeah.
But
overall, just he's definitely an actor that you may not necessarily think about, but when you look at his breadth of work, especially now, which is the most it'll happen when him passed away, you'll realize, holy shit, he was in this, he was in that, he was in so much. There's so many other like staple actors that you just don't think about until you start thinking about them.
He kind of reminds me of when we lost Lance Reddick last year, where it's like, He has plenty of stuff still to come. But if you go back and we watch so much stuff from like probably stuff you just grew up with, there's a good chance he will be featured in that because the man was involved in so much stuff. And
even Lance Reddick, he was he had gained not notoriety, but he had gained more fame with the John Wick series.
Yeah.
He was really getting his dues there. Uh, but if not for that, yeah, he'd definitely be pretty much just like Tony Todd. Honestly, it's Candyman. I'm just really happy that we saw the new Candyman movie, the latest Candyman movie.
Yeah.
And despite its significant flaws, I did very much like that movie.
I feel the same way about it. I thought, like, for all of its shortcomings, I did think it was a fun reboot. It had really great cinematography, and I thought
Oh yeah.
it had some really gory moments too. I
Hmm.
wouldn't mind if, Jordan Peele's studio, Monkey Paw Productions, if they wanted to do a sequel to that. Um, but if that is the last Candyman we got, I'd be like, okay, yeah, that's fine. Like, I
Hmm.
think it's, don't run into the ground before we actually do make
Very
Chucky
true.
versus Candyman without Tony Todd.
Man, the dignity you have for your work and your craft to say no to that is so awesome.
Oh yeah.
And I'm on the side of like, hey man, they can't all be winners. It's okay. Every actor is a working actor to a degree, right? So it's like,
Mhm.
yeah, take the check. It's fine. It's like Bruce Willis, which is a really tragic story because Bruce Willis has aphasia, which is a very just a disabling disorder,
Yeah.
disease, and it's just so bad. And it's like everyone is saying now, it's like, yeah, dude. So all those shitty movies he was making in the past 10 years, I kind of feel bad for making fun of him now. Although in
Right?
my opinion, it's
Yeah.
like, no, it was fair game. He didn't say shit. So,
Like,
but it's
no,
it's
I,
it's
I
but yeah, get that money. You know what? Get that money, your family. I'm not everyone can be Daniel Day Lewis with the perfect streak or whatever. It's fine.
I
But
was
still
gonna
to say that, yeah, go ahead,
I
yeah.
was gonna say, like, when I went to go see The Substance, and this was weeks after you guys reviewed it.
Mm-hmm.
I probably saw it in the last week before I left theaters. The entire time watching it, I was in love with it. But every time like a scene would end or something, and this is not a dig at the movie at all I
Mm-hmm.
thought to myself was, "Damn! Not only is Demi Moore so good in this movie, but man, mad kudos to her for like coming together with her ex husband and helping him through all this with her family as a whole." Like,
Yeah.
because it's just like, seeing that image of her saying, "Yeah, I'm in this with him. We're gonna help him as best as we can." It was like, oh man, dude, mad respect to Demi Moore. Hopefully, she gets nominated for something at the Oscars this year for The Substance, because she very much deserves it.
This is a tangent, but man, her role in The Substance, that is the role of her career.
Oh
Not
yeah,
just like it's the best of her career, but like literally of her career. That's what
yeah,
she's been fighting this whole time in Hollywood.
yeah, yeah. Because like
Boy.
I remember, I think it was the second Charlie's Angels movies that she's in. Not a good movie, but I remember she was casted in it, and like I remember as a kid at the time, I forgot who said it. Maybe it was like one of my uncles, like, "Ah, she's too old to be in this." And I remember going to see the movie. I'm like, this woman's
Go to
hot as
hell.
hell, dude.
Yeah.
It's just like, and that was me like when I was like 7, like, and it's just like even then, even in The Substance, I still think she's a gorgeous looking woman, even at her age, man.
Hey guys, can I say something?
What's up?
No. That Twitter meme where it's like
Oh
they
yeah,
just post a
yeah,
picture and it's like, hey guys, can I say something? Like,
yeah. Hear me out.
hear me out.
It's the Substance
Yeah,
creature at the end. Hear me out. Demi Moore's in there somewhere.
no, but it's back to Tony Todd though, is that I have black coworkers, right?
Mhm.
And we've lost a number of old guard black actors in the past like year or two. So like John Amos, right? Am I getting that right? John Amos from Roots
I think
and
so.
a
Yeah.
variety of other. Yeah. It's like that was a big one, and it's like when I told my coworkers about like, yeah, John Amos, he died. He died like a year after, or like they announced his death a year after. But anyway, they were like, damn, man, we're losing everyone, and it's like, I don't know. I don't think they know about Tony Todd yet. So I might tell them tomorrow that Tony Todd is gone. They might already know by now, but
Oh man.
yeah, dude.
But yeah, rest in peace, Tony Todd. Very sad to see. Very young age too. 69 is not time to go. Honestly, like I said, you make it to 80 or beyond. I think that's such like a good. You did it. Like you
Yes.
made it.
And
Um,
dude, I was just thinking about this too, because he's that kind of actor as well. Keith David. He's 60, he's 68, dude. Dude, when we
dude,
lose
don't.
when we lose the freaking arbiter, I'm gonna
It is,
oh, I'm gonna cry.
man, you could tell when Steven's not here, man. The nerdiness gets control. It is the 20th anniversary of Halo 2 as well. So it's
Yes.
like, man, like I'm gonna be sad that day when that happens. Like,
Mm-hmm.
because to me, not only is he that, he's also Mass Effect. He is Commander
Yes.
Shepard's like right hand man,
He's in
basically
so
back
many
on Earth.
games, dude.
He's in a ton of games. He does a
It's
ton of voice
crazy.
acting. Love Keith David as well, man. That's gonna be the one. It's like when he goes Gargoyles on Disney. He's the voice of the main gargoyle.
Mm-hmm.
That's gonna be one where when that happens, that'll
He
be
was
like,
Black Panther on X-Men or Spider-Man,
yes,
right?
yes, he was, yeah,
Shit,
yeah.
dude. Okay,
Man, you know,
let's
and
not
like,
preempt that story because it's gonna happen at some point.
yeah, let's not even try to like speak it into like existence here. Let's talk about what we're reviewing this week. Let's talk about something right here, right now. We're talking about here. Here is
Shut
a
the hell up.
movie, is a drama film produced and directed by the great Robert Zemeckis, director of Back to the Future, as well as many other films starring Tom Hanks, such as what's the one where he's trapped on the island? Oh
Castaway,
my God, Castaway. I believe he also directed
Forrest Gump.
Forrest Gump. There we go. I was gonna say there's two big ones with our boy there. He's also recently directed a very good movie in my opinion. Oh wow, I say recent, but it's almost gonna be 20 years, not 20, it's gonna be
Yeah,
10 years. It's gonna be 10 years from now. Flight with Denzel Washington.
I like that movie a lot.
It's such a good movie. He also directed The Walk with Joseph Gordon-Levitt about the man who walked between the two World Trade Center buildings. Um, has a career that's spanned on for years. Always a man that tries innovating with technology, innovating storytelling, tons of stuff. And so when his new movie here was announced, I was very much looking forward to this movie because this movie is told through uh, it covers a wide span of events in a single spot of land and all of its inhabitants, spanning from the past to contemporary times. This movie goes from the 1700s, the 1600s, even hell, when dinosaurs ruled the earth, to the 80s, the 90s, and COVID. Even like it spans such a long period of time.
Mm-hmm.
And it's based on, for those of you who are wondering, maybe you've heard of this before. It is based on a 2014 graphic novel by Richard McGuire. Just like the source material too, it's told in a non-linear fashion and everything, and it prevents events from different periods of time simultaneously. The film stars Tom Hanks, Robin Wright, Paul Bettany, sorry, and Kelly Riley. There's plenty to talk about with this movie right here, right now. Dom, what are your initial thoughts?
Oh boy, my thoughts on Robert Zemeckis's Here sequel to Joaquin Phoenix's Her. I think that I'm gonna have so much fun with that title. This is one of the best student films I've seen in a long time, dude.
Oh no.
What a supremely interesting gimmick. It's a gimmick. It's 1000% a gimmick because the film literally opens with the dinosaurs dying.
Yeah.
With that one sustained shot, and they hold it all the way through to the end, right? All the way through. And you know what? Someone had to do it. Someone had to do it. This is one of those ideas where, usually some kind of cinephile at some age, usually a younger one, will go like, dude, wait, okay, wait, hold on, wait, dude. What if they did a movie, but like they just held that one shot for like 2.5 hours, and then you pass the blunt, right?
Yeah.
That is this kind of movie. And I would be cool with that movie in a lot of other contexts. And you know what, even in this context where it's like, this is like the how do I word this kindly to the other film? This is like a more static Forrest Gump.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
And it's so funny because it really hits a lot of similar themes to Forrest Gump. And I'm not just saying that because Tom Hanks and Robin Wright are in this, right?
Yeah.
They can't catch a break in any movie, can they? Those two. But this theme of like, and I'll be real harsh in this, these themes of like boomer nostalgia, right? which is obviously Robert Zemeckis' whole life. He's a
Yeah.
boomer.
Oh, I mean, look at Back to the Future.
Yeah, he's a boomer, and he made the ultimate boomer movie in Forrest Gump, but also, yes, going back in time to son of a bitch. So many of his movies do go back in time, don't they? Oh boy. I'm just coming to this realization now. Zemeckis is definitely one of those directors where it's like every time you bring him up, you immediately have to go through his whole catalog of movies. I'm
Yeah.
dead serious, bro. But in terms of here, it does a adequate job. I'll even say solid job of milking its premise pretty much for all it's worth. It takes use, it makes very, very effective use of the panels and like the overlapping collage of time. So time jumps around the eras, but it always moves forward, which that would have been way too much if it was going back in time as well. It always moves forward, but it is jumping around the timelines.
Mm.
And I thought that was very effective in how it used that mechanic, similar to how I've only seen like a couple panels, but how it used it for the original graphic novel as well. And I'm like, okay, that seems to be a really effective use of that medium, of the
Yeah.
graphic novel medium, from what I've seen of samples. How that translates to film, I think they did the absolute best that they could have done with it, and I still think there's shortcomings for a whole movie, the
Yeah.
whole movie. Maybe do a sequence. Another movie can do a sequence like that, sure. But this wound up feeling like a play without the charm of a play, without that obviously not in real life, but also like I feel that this is a film and it's really not making use of the film. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying?
I feel like
And
that last. Oh, go
yeah, go
ahead.
ahead, go
Go
ahead,
ahead.
go ahead.
I feel like that last part you said, that this feels like a play, but without any of the charm of it being a play. I feel like that hits this movie perfectly right on the head. Um, I'm just gonna come out and say it. This might be. No, this is. I just don't know where it's at yet. This is in my bottom three of the year, and I was
Of the
shocked.
year.
Of
Okay.
the year, I was shocked at how this movie was going for me. I was the one that recommended this movie. I thought the premise sounded amazing. I thought, like, this is such a cool idea. This is a director who recently, like, and I'm talking about the last 5 years, has not been hitting that good, but he's re-teaming up with his old familiars that he might have something here. I thought this was
Mhm.
going to be a comeback for Zemeckis. I really liked the idea of it and everything. I thought it was a bold move, only to go and see it and think to myself, holy shit, what a misfire in every single way this can be. I thought if you want to adapt this movie, I think you need somebody who's a bigger visionary than Robert Zemeckis. I think Robert Zemeckis knows how to tell a very human story, but in a traditional sense. I
Yeah.
don't think he could take a human story and tell in this narrative that the film is trying to be done. I think you need somebody who has a much more keen on displaying something on a screen in a unique way through editing, through the panels, like you were saying, because this movie's look is dry. And while you could say, yeah, it's in one spot the entire time, that doesn't matter. You could do plenty of stuff with the scenery. You could do plenty of stuff with the setting itself, but it comes out very dry and dull and boring to sit there for about as long as I did with this movie. This movie's only 104 minutes too, so it's not that
There
long
are
of a movie.
there
But
are
it's
so many shots. I just want to say on the dry aspect where it's like, yeah, there's so many shots where it's like, oh, this is filmed in like a green screen, like a blue
yeah,
screen, green screen kind of thing.
yeah,
I'm like, did you even build the house? I'm sure they did build the house, but I don't know what it is. It's so artificial. And that's because you are so limited by this technique, by this
yeah,
strategy, I guess,
yeah,
where it's like, oh, we can't move the camera literally. So
yeah,
I can't do anything. Maybe they could have, but they didn't. Where it's like, hey, okay, we can't in a traditional movie, I want this shot of like the lush green forests of Philadelphia or wherever this is set, right?
yeah,
I want that. So let's shoot on either on location or in the best possible location I can afford. No, you just have this static shot, so
Yeah.
you are forced to use the CGI in such a compromising way. No, I don't think any CGI artist with enough time could have made that look good. It's just
Anytime
so narrow. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
anytime something's happening outside the window, it doesn't seem like it's real. Anytime that it's not the modern like timeline story that's happening right now, it just feels so artificial to look at times. Especially the Native American stuff. That shit looked fake as hell, man. It really did.
There was a dead body that they were carrying, that the natives were carrying. That was a fake dead body, right?
um I think so.
Like
I just
it was a pretty good close up of like the dead body of the funeral body, right?
yeah.
And I'm pretty sure that was just like a mannequin.
And here's the other thing too. The look of the movie and like how it's done, how it's presented. That's not the worst part about this movie. There's two other things to me that make it the worst of the year for me. I think this movie's screenplay is bad. It's just
Yes.
flat out bad.
Yeah.
Paul Bettany, I think, is a great actor. In the dude, he was in WandaVision. I thought
I
he
liked
was
him in this.
He was, um, he's good in this. His lines are terrible. He sounds there are moments he sounds like a noir detective while he's drinking, and it's like this does not match at all. Like I get it, he's from the past, like as in like he's a man that is from a different era in time. He fought in World War II and everything. But my God, man, I was sitting there the entire time, and I was just like, his dialogue sounds terrible. Tom Hanks. There's just something, man. This de-aging technology still needs work because,
Dude, so there was a shot when they were first introduced, Tom Hanks and Robin Wright, where it's
Yeah.
like, hey, this is the shot where we're gonna show off our de-aging technology, and you're gonna think it's back in time. Dude, Tom Hanks and Robin Wright, they walk right up to the camera, and it's a good close-up, and it's like, holy shit, this is not working.
Yeah.
They look so dead in the eyes. I don't know what happened here.
It is so distracting. When that happens, I'm gonna pull up on screen here. Oh, that's the intermission. There we go. It is so distracting when they come up on screen like you're seeing right now. They do not look right. This is supposed to be 18 years old, Tom Hanks and Robin Wright, and hearing the voices that it's the same issue that I had with The Irishman, but The Irishman at least was a good movie at the end of the day. But when they're doing the stuff with Robert De Niro when he's supposed to be younger, yet it sounds like older Robert De Niro, and he's moving like old man Robert De Niro, it just doesn't come off across. It does not come across as, hey, this is the young people like that we knew from back in the 80s when they were in movies together and whatnot. It doesn't work at all. The third thing, and this is the thing I think that kills the movie the most, I'm all for a non-linear narrative. One of my favorite movies this year is told through a non-linear narrative, Challengers. This movie's non-linear narrative, I think, shot itself in the foot and repeatedly continued to unload the magazine while it did so. I think this movie should have been told in a linear fashion. I know the comic is not told in that fashion. I think the movie would have been better. I think the movie would have been better if it was like the first 20 minutes, and it would have been artsy as hell to do this too, but the first 20 minutes is you're going throughout so many moments in time in this one spot, eventually building up to the family that resides here for years and years to come. And then I would have done it where it's like the last 20 minutes of the movie is about a whole different family. It's about the family that moves in the house and everything and whatnot. Right. This is not a spoiler because all this stuff is revealed in like the first 5 minutes of this movie of like who are our characters, because the film being told in a non-linear narrative, it creates two problems for me. One, it cuts out scenes. It cuts out a lot of the drama. It cuts out a lot of like human like attachment that I was having, or the little of it that I was having in scenes. It cuts it out, and it goes to a really just awkward scene between a whole different storyline that I'm like, what the hell is going on right now? There is the creation of the lazy boy in this movie, and I have no idea why we cut to it several times. Like, it's like, why are we cutting to this? Okay, the lazy boy was invented here. So what? What connection does this have to today? It didn't play into the house's foundation at all or anything. There's also the stuff we do where it's like, oh, we're trying to connect it. Like, look, isn't it crazy how at this point in time, this is who lived here, and then years later on Halloween, they're dressing up as them. Let me say something real quick. I've been to so many Halloween parties. I've been out at Halloween in downtown. Yes. Oh boy, damn storm. Hopefully we're still going through. But yeah, I would have loved it if they were the kite. I think the kite and Ben Franklin would have been a funnier gag than two Ben Franklins. But yeah, it's like the thing, like, just them trying to tie it in, like, look what happened back here, and it happened again here on this very day. Like, it was kind of weird. Like, there was some, like, really sad shit happening to this family, and we cut to Native Americans boinking it on top of a rock, and it's just like, this just doesn't.
What was the point of that?
It was like, this doesn't flow at all. Like, either find the right place to cut to these events or don't. Or, maybe this would have looked silly, but when Robin Wright and Tom Hanks, get it on in the couch in this movie.
Let's see a Robert Zemeckis orgy through time with this single frame. Everyone's doing it. This is the scene where everyone's doing it.
It would have, it would have been like, hey, you know what? Yeah, people have sex, like, and look how many people had sex in this one very spot.
Yeah, that's life.
It's life. It's what you could have looked at it like. I think it's such a hard concept to play with on, like, what you're going to cut back to, what are you going to intertwine at this very moment and everything. Like, because there's some moments where it works. I would even say this. I think the later half of the movie, once it focuses more on the
the family, the main family,
the young family. It's their young family. Their last name is Young. Let me make that clear. Richard Young is played by Tom Hanks, and Margaret Young is played by
you right
Robin
now, no
White.
one gives a shit.
Yeah, no. But the more focused on the family, and it stayed on them way longer than cutting to all the other characters, I thought the movie was working a lot better. But the thing was, it was too little too late, because even then, like, there's some dramatic turns that this movie has, and I don't feel like it earns it. It doesn't earn the tears that, like, it was trying to get from me at the end of the movie, playing with Robin Wright's character, where she eventually starts suffering dementia. And it just, there's so much stuff that, like, I think that's what aggravated me too, is like, I see the potential here, but none of it is working, and I'm just shocked at how bad the product turned out. That, like, for about an hour of this movie, I was frustrated. I was rolling my eyes. I was fucking laughing at the movie, not with the movie, at how it was trying to do stuff. It is just a mess of a movie. I'm so surprised, and I'm so saddened by that. Dom, do you have anything else you want to add on to before we go into the break?
I think I'll save it for after, because I do want to touch on some positives. We're doing the reverse here, where we do the negatives first. We have so much to say.
I would love to hear them. I would love to hear them too, because I really don't have any, other than the last 30 minutes improves the formula slightly.
Yeah, and I think mine even touches on that. So, we'll just go to break, man.
Okay. We'll be right back here on Sleepless with Steve. We're going to go to intermission. Stay tuned for more about our review on here.
All right.
Good stuff. Been enjoying hearing about your softball pursuits.
Yeah.
Good stuff. Gang's all here today. We're ready to talk Will and Harper, brand new documentary that is currently streaming on Netflix, was released in the middle of September. This was kind of a festival darling over at the Sundance Film Festival when it premiered back in January, before being acquired for Netflix. Also had a very limited theatrical release. The movie was directed by Josh Greenbaum. That name sounds familiar. He's been pretty prolific over the last couple of years, too. He directed Barb and Star Go to Vista Del Mar, and he also last year directed Strays, which Will Ferrell was also a part of, loaned his voice to that one about the stray dog comedy. So Greenbaum's been pretty active. This is...
Welcome back to Sleepless with Steve, live on YouTube every Wednesday from 6:30 to 7:30 Central. It's me, Joe Viso, and Dominic Guanzon in the trademark Boo Polo, talking about here the 2024 film directed by Robert Zemeckis, starring Tom Hanks and Robin Wright. You just basically listened to my crying plea of one of my favorite directors making one of the worst movies I've seen this year, and why it was so disappointing to me. But Dom has some good things to say about the movie here. Dom, go on. What do you want to say?
I will say the strongest part of this movie is its core themes, that at least the ones that I picked on, which is, okay. Its strongest theme is not what it should be, which is connectedness. That's not what I got from it. If you want a Tom Hanks movie that has the theme of connectedness throughout history, look up Cloud Atlas. That's a great movie. I love
Oh
that
yeah,
movie.
actually, yeah.
People complain about Cloud Atlas being like unwatchable because like I can't understand it. Bro, I got that shit the first time and it's not that hard. It's really not.
It has its problems, but it is actually to
Sure.
me it's a good movie and a much better example of how to do this.
Dude, you know what? I'm just going to say it right now. If you maybe even like saw potential in here, watch Cloud Atlas and you'll like that way more.
Yeah.
I'm like almost going to guarantee it. But anyway, the strongest actual theme came from that main family, which was basically it was like the inverse of Forrest Gump, where
Yeah.
Forrest Gump is like, hey, I'm gonna go out and see the world. Yeah, I'm a little dim-witted, but I'm gonna go out and see the world no matter what. Whereas for Tom Hanks's character in this, he's so scared that he
Yeah.
just cannot move on and he cannot leave this one house, this one spot. And it seriously hurts him and his family until it ultimately breaks it apart. And I just think that's a really cool like lesson for especially someone who lives in the suburbs
Yeah.
where that is that really spoke to me. And I was really and I think even where the themes and where that general plot went, I thought was effective.
And
How it got there, very messy. Go see the last 20 minutes of this review.
Let me say
Yeah,
this too, like kind of going off of that, because the last 30 minutes I feel like does very much heavily go into that. The best scenes to me in this movie, it involves Robin Wright and Tom Hanks. They have a Thanksgiving dinner together after years of being separated. And there's something about that conversation they have with one another. And there's also like there's a scene where Robin Wright turns 50 and the breakdown she has, I felt like, holy shit, like that actually felt
that was
real.
that was probably the most effective scene.
I was like that felt real. That felt like I was actually in the room. And I was like, if I had more scenes like that, and again, because they're building off one another, like I was seeing like, and I feel like because like, you know, especially in the last 30 minutes of this movie, you really do feel the tension of the bad, like what's coming bad from living in one spot the entire time, being stuck here and everything, with Robin Wright's character, and it ultimately bubbles up into that 50th birthday party, and it is. Hey, honestly, I was like, shit, all right, maybe this movie might turn around here, and then like, then it did some stupid transition where like this pilot brings his daughter to like the aerodome, and then he starts arguing with his wife, and I'm just like, well, what the fuck?
What's the point of that?
It's just like, only to be revealed he's been killed by the Spanish flu, which, you know, hundreds of years later, a woman will die of COVID in this house. And it's just like, okay, sure, like, thanks.
But yeah, I don't know the themes there other than it's like Forrest Gump, where it's even though it's fun in Forrest Gump, I still think its thematic weakness is all the winking and nodding.
Oh yeah, like where he's at
here's
like big cultural events.
This is John Lennon, and
Yeah.
Forrest Gump actually wrote the song Imagine, right? Where it's like, okay, sure, whatever. And that's what Zemeckis was trying to do. That's the only thing I can see with these other parts in history where he's just winking and nodding and doing clever,
I don't know if
somewhat clever things like that. Yeah.
I don't know if it was a theme of like history repeating itself and everything. I don't know if it tried to do that. Because, you know, you can make an argument too that like how history repeated itself with the same family, where it's just like, you know, what happens eventually to Paul Bettany and Kelly Riley's characters, Rose and Al. Like, you know, how they fall in love young, they buy the house young, they can't afford to go anywhere else, they have a family, a big family and everything. It eventually happens to their firstborn son, Richard, played by Tom Hanks. He literally repeats the same, like almost nearly the same thing. He has a son that actually, not a son, the brother goes off into the military, yada yada yada. Like, you know, events reoccur again, and I was like, okay, if you're trying to make that your theme, again, this dialogue is so bad at times, and you cutting and jumping around throughout time and changing narratives, going to things that just have nothing to do with, I don't think, anything in the movie, like The Lazy Boy. It undermines everything, and it makes me forget what you're trying to do. I honestly just sat there, and I was just like, what? By like an hour in, I just sat there and thought to myself, like, I honestly don't know what this movie's trying to say or do, and I don't know how it's going to recover. And it almost does, But like I said, when you get to the end, I feel like it cheapens out and it tries to go for cheap like tears here, trying to get you to cry over like just like a cheap moment, and I'm just like, it didn't earn it.
Well, how old was the theater? What was the average age of the theater?
Oh, like my audience?
Your theater, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so I saw this Saturday morning at the first showtime. I went to 11 a.m. It was all older people. It was.
Yeah, it's all boomers, right? For me, it was all boomers.
Yeah. And you know what? And the funny thing is when I got up and left, I turned around and nobody was moving. And I looked at the credits and I'm like, was there something being shown on the screen? Am I seeing this? Like, are there pictures? They're still not moving. I walk out of the theater, the theater custodian with a broom and a thing. He's like, "Are you the last guy?" And I'm like, "No." I'm like, "Dude, I'm not even kidding. There's like 25 old people in there." He's like, "What?" I'm like, "Yeah." I'm like, "I think they all fell asleep or something." And I just like laughed and like continued walking on, because it was like nobody really laughed. There was no audible reactions to stuff that maybe they would know about. Stuff they're like, "Oh yeah, I remember when that happened in the 70s and 80s." Like, because again, they have historical moments playing out throughout this whole thing. But it is such a weird idea. Not even weird. It's just a bad execution of this movie. Do you have anything else you want to add on, Dom? I really got nothing else to say here.
I see what you did.
But such a fuck this title, man.
Look, man,
can I say? They got to use the F word once in this movie. Really good use.
Really good use of the F-bomb. Really good use of a Tom Hanks F-bomb. Very effective.
Said, "Get the F out of my house." I was like, I even said, but then it's followed up. So throughout the whole movie, the transitions usually are like just,
okay. Thank you. Thank you for me. I completely forgot about this. Okay. There were some cool transitions where it's like, this person walks and it's like a screen wipe behind the person.
Yeah.
That's really cool. That's a good transition. Other times they're just fading.
They're just fading. And in the one I'm talking about where he says, "Get the F out of my house," it did a PowerPoint, like it just, a circle came in and went into the next scene. And I remember I shut up in my chair and I went, ain't no ways Robert Zemeckis actually put that in his movie. A PowerPoint ass transition into the next scene.
You're not George Lucas. This is not a 70s pulpy
This is not Star Wars.
Yeah, exactly. That wipe, left to right wipe, works in Star Wars. It does not work in here.
It would have been funny if, like, in the 70s, like, he went to go see Star Wars with his brothers, and then how they transitioned to the next scene was a screen wipe. It would have been like, oh, that's actually kind of, like, that's a little, like, nice little nod. Like, okay, like, they went to go see Star Wars, they were talking about it and everything. But, yeah, man, and, like, and again, like, they try to manufacture so much drama in this movie. None of it works. When his brother goes off to join the military, and it's supposed to be this big dramatic moment at Thanksgiving dinner, it doesn't amount to anything. The drama.
What the hell? I was waiting for him to die, right? You were waiting for him to die, weren't you?
The drama feels like it's just it's one of those early stage plays that you see on off Broadway or something, and then like they just never come back to it. It's just like did he die or is he okay? Like, did they ever reconnect? It's just like, obviously they had some connection. They're dressed up like Ben Franklin together, so it's just like, what the hell were they doing as brothers? Oh, man. Yeah, anyways, I got nothing else to add on. You want to go into your final ratings?
Yeah, this is, God. I'll go in with a rating, but then over the course of our discussion, I'm like, yeah, man, I think I actually do feel, and I feel bad about that because it's like, man, do I not have a backbone? Can I not like think for myself here?
Hey, you know what? It's happened to me on this show several times too, where it's like I'll talk about something I felt so mediocre on, but then talking to you guys, I'm like, you know what? That was a good movie, and I'll bump it up a star.
Yeah, I bumped it down, so this is 1.5 out of 4 stars. I was gonna be merciful and say 2. Yeah. But I was like, no, you're right. I was not feeling this at all. Like, aesthetically, this is really not good to look at. You did I'll applaud the panel, trend, like not transitions, but the panel like overlays. That was very creative.
That was creative. Yeah.
Yeah. But the set design here, I mean, this design was fine, but just, it looks so artificial. And I should say the artificiality was very ineffective here. And it's not even a rag on the CGI artists. It's more like the direction of like what was going on here. Something just was not right with the de-aging, with the
That
with the
damn hummingbird.
backgrounds. The sets. It felt very, very artificial, and yes, at the heart of it, even though I do dude, I kind of want to just see a movie of just that main family and like, yeah, cover these themes of just sitting in this one house all your life. That's pathetic. Like, bro, live your life. Stop being
Yeah.
scared. Those are really, really, really good themes, especially in a post-pandemic world. But the execution here was
That's
just god
actually
awful.
damn. That's actually a good point too, man. Fuck,
Yeah,
I didn't
because
even think about
look,
that.
I'm not going to deny the contrast. Where it's like every other person is living their life except Tom Hanks and
Mm.
Robin Wright, and it breaks them apart. Like that's the only thing I can really think of as the contrast.
Damn, you know what? You
Uh,
just made sense maybe of the Lazy Boy one, where it's like he actually did go through with following his dreams of making an invention or whatever, and it got
yeah.
them out of there and moved
All
them to
right, 2 out of 4
California.
star. No,
You actually made sense of that plot line
no,
now. Shit.
no. I'm and I had that going in, so I'm like, I still got to give this 1.5 out of 4, just because it's just the final package cannot deliver on what was I think a very effective message for the boomers. This is Zemeckis
Oh
talking
yeah.
right at the boomers and going, like, hey, some of you lived your life like this and you kind of need to live with it now. I'm sorry. That was basically what Zemeckis was saying to his fan base of boomers that have lived through, Back to the Future, that have lived through, Forrest Gump and Peggy Sue Got Married. So, dude, live with it. Stop time traveling, Robert Zemeckis. Stop time traveling. I really liked Allied, and I need to watch it again. But
Oh, with
anyway,
Brad Pitt.
Allied was such a
It's an underrated movie
movie
in
that
my
I'm like,
too.
I didn't even know this was a Zemeckis movie. He
Right?
didn't write it. He didn't write it, but he did direct it.
I think that was the last movie by him that I thought was genuinely good. I
Okay.
think
It goes from Flight, Walk, Allied, Welcome to Marwin, The Witches, Pinocchio, here. Yeah,
oh
after
fuck,
Allied,
I
it just
forgot
went.
I hit Pinocchio 2 years
Dude,
ago.
once Trump became president, just Zemeckis had a complete meltdown. Zemeckis,
Uh
no. Sorkin, yes. Sorkin thrives in the Trump era. Zemeckis, no, not at all. Okay, anyway, sorry, that was my star rating. 1.5.
no, you're good. You're good. Uh Yeah, unfortunately for me, I feel like this movie is just all over the place. It's a mess, and I've said that throughout my review, and I don't want to repeat myself any more than I have to, because uh, who knows who will be sitting in this exact spot years to come and be talking about the same fucking movie and being like, man, no, this movie, blah 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 blah. Or like, the next, like, director to come up and be like, I'm gonna adapt this graphic novel. Who knows? We'll be sitting in this place that I'm currently sitting in now and be doing the same thing years later. Um, for me, it is 1 out of 4 stars. I hate to give it that. I feel like, of course, like, I give that to movies where I feel like they don't try and everything. And I can't say Robert Zemeckis didn't try here. I think it's a bold move to try and take on a movie like this and do it in this way. But, at the end of the day, I also got to grade it for how you executed it. And man, you executed it really badly. You led this ship down a stream that just was hole after hole, and it was sinking, and you tried plugging it up, and you got to your destination, but man, was it a messy, messy ride. 1 out of 4 stars for me. I feel so bad for giving it that, but man, I was really looking forward to this.
Zemeckis, 72 years old. This might be his last. This is like his last hurrah.
Oh,
This is like
shit.
Coppola.
It better not be.
Between Coppola and Zemeckis, these last hurrahs are not looking great, dude.
Hey,
I
you know
really
what? What's his name? Scorsese, bro. Maybe just tap out right now before you do one last hurrah.
Oh yeah, and we do not like Killers of the Flower Moon on this show.
No.
Yeah, this is not looking good for the old timers, man. I want, dude.
He's got one more. He's got one more movie coming up called The King. It's got Dwayne Johnson.
Doesn't inspire confidence in me.
It's got Dwayne Johnson in it.
What?
It's about King Kamala fulfills his lifelong prophecy of uniting the Hawaiian Islands. It is an autobiography film.
Shoot. Okay, that does sound like a good premise.
Yeah, and
that sounds like a great premise.
And I'm all for Dwayne Johnson not playing Dwayne Johnson. Unlike what we're gonna be.
This is the one. This is Dwayne Johnson's last chance to prove that he can actually act. That he can't just coast off his charisma. He can actually act. and prove to us.
I think it's that. I also think it's what's that movie he's making with one of the Benny Safdie, the Smashing Machine, about the Mark Kerr, it's the UFC fighter and anything, and the fact that he's working with someone like Benny Safdie, Uncut Gems and everything, it's like, okay, it's an A24 movie too. It's like, all right, this goes against, like, you know, a lot of the stuff Dwayne Johnson is usually in. Speaking of which, tune in next week for our review of Red One, starring Dwayne Johnson, produced by 7 Bucks Production, his production company, which also stars Lucy Liu, J.K. Simmons, and Chris Evans. Boy, man, Chris Evans, man. The guy I thought, like, once he leaves Captain America, he's going to be in some good stuff. And I can only really say Knives Out has been the only movie since then that I was like, yeah, he's great in that. But yeah, tune in here next Tuesday. Oh God, dude, I'm just fumbling words tonight. Tune in next Wednesday from 6:30 to 7:30 p.m. on Sleepless with Steve. We'll be back to review Red One, like I was saying. Until then, check out our YouTube channel, check out our highlights, and of course, subscribe and follow the channel if you haven't. We'll be seeing you guys next week. Take care, goodbye, and go to the movies.